we were discussing the Mishnah. The Mishnah talked about if two gentlemen walk down the street and they both see a talus, right? And they grab the talus together. Neither of them is willing to compromise. Both say, I have the whole talus. The other guy says he has the whole talus. That one says, it's all mine. The other guy says, it's all mine. What do? We go to court. We make them swear that they have nothing less than a half, and we split it. Okay? So we have to think clearly. What does the Mishnah say? Let me just go over the Mishnah just quickly by itself. Shnaim sheichim metalis, two people grabbing a talus. Zaimer kulishali, one says it's all mine. The Zaimer kulishali, and the other one says it's all mine. Zaimer ani mitzasiya, the guy says, I saw it, and the other guy says, I saw it. I found it and I didn't see it. I found it, and the other guy says, I found it. You split it. Okay, so the Gemara that we've been discussing has been asking, why do we have two cases? Why do you have to say, I found it and it is all mine? Why don't you just say, I found it? And then we would know that it's all yours. Or it's just say, it's all mine, and we presume that you found it. Why do you have to say, this is clearly, I have to come to court and say, I have found it and it is all mine. So the Mishnah, Gemara, through a number of different scenarios, comes to the conclusion that it's two different cases. We're not talking about one case. We're talking about two cases. What are the two cases? One case is where they actually both found it. That means two gentlemen saw a talus sitting in the street. It belonged to nobody. They ran over. They both grabbed it at the same time. And each one believes wholeheartedly that they definitely found it. Okay? And they don't want to compromise. That means that they say, absolutely not. I'm not going to compromise. They come to court. The court begs them to compromise. They say, absolutely not. Okay, there's no choice. Split it. They have to take a vow. And the vow says, I have nothing less than a half. And then you split it. Okay, fine. What's the other case? The other case is mekech memker, when they bought it. Remember, last week we discussed a scenario, a very strange scenario, mysterious case, where two guys bought one object and the seller doesn't remember who he sold it to. And each guy claims that they bought it. I bought it. The other guy says, I bought it. It's all mine. And the other guy says, it's all mine. And they don't want to compromise. And they both want this talus. So what do? You split it. That's it. You split it. Okay, so we went through a number of scenarios why we need each case. Why does the Mishnah need to tell us two different cases? Why wouldn't it be sufficient to have one case? So we came to the conclusion that what is really the difference? Think about for a moment. What's the difference between buying and finding? We went into that a little bit, because finding, even if a guy sees it later, he's going to think to himself, the other guy's not losing anything. So let's take the scenario of, let's say, Mark, for example. We, Mark, are walking down the street. We see a talus. He runs faster than me. He grabs the talus first. I justify by grabbing the talus second and arguing that it's all mine by saying what's going to happen. Mark doesn't lose anything. Even if I get half of it, he still gets $100. Let's say the talus is worth $200. We split it. Mark walks away with $100 for nothing. And I walk away with $100 for nothing. So that's why you have to tell us, you have to place the oath on the two people. Because he can justify by saying, look, okay, 100 is better than nothing. But in the case of mekech memker, but in the case of buying and selling, you really can't really say that, because the guy put out money, okay? On the other hand, what about mekech memker? What about buying and selling? So the guy justifies himself by saying, I also wanted to buy it. He put out money, but I also put out money. I don't want anything for free. So what happened? So let's say Tim was selling that coat that he's wearing, that jacket that he's wearing. Me and Mark both want the jacket. We both run in. I see Mark giving Tim the money, but I really want the jacket as well. So I run over and I put my money in Tim's jacket. And I justify it by saying, listen, let Mark go somewhere else to buy the jacket. I mean, he's not going to lose any money. It's not like Tim gets to keep the whole money. Somehow we're going to have to split the money. So I justify by lying. Therefore, the court says, since in both cases, there is a possibility that one guy could fudge the truth a little bit. That's why, to make sure that keep everybody honest, we place an oath upon them. We put an oath upon these two gentlemen, let them swear. If they don't want to swear, then they know that they won't get the jacket. Because if one guy says, hey, I'm not swearing, the other guy gets the jacket. Right? If one guy says, okay, you know what, forget about it, the other guy walks away with the whole jacket. So in both cases, there is a possibility that we're looking at the underbelly of society over here. We're not exactly talking about Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron, his brother, because if it was Aaron and Moses, they would come to some kind of a conclusion. But there is this human element that unfortunately allows us to justify, even though when we know that we're wrong. I just had this discussion today, parenthetically. Someone says, how could Orthodox people do something? Now, there's something that, well, of course, Orthodox right away gets clobbered over the head, right? Because story, how could Orthodox do it? I say, what's different? Orthodox are people. I mean, why do we think Orthodox are not people? And every person that does something that's immorally illegal or unethical always justifies it. They always justify it by saying, I worked so hard, or this, or the other guy doesn't deserve it, or I deserve more, or everything. Everybody does something. Everybody justifies it. So it doesn't make a difference if you wear a yarmulke on your head, or you don't wear a yarmulke, or you put on tefillin that day. You don't put on tefillin that day. Question is if you fear God. That's what doesn't. The outside trappings means nothing. I could be wearing a long beard like this with a big fur hat, and end up in Iran, because complimenting the president of Iran. So what do I mean? Look at the outside trappings means nothing over here in this scenario. So here also the Gemara is trying. What the Gemara is trying to do is trying to minimize the possibility of to the best of their ability to make sure that everybody stays honest. So by placing an oath upon you, it's very serious. If you lie, okay. So now we have two scenarios that everybody agrees would warrant an oath, right? And that's why the Mishnah has to double up and say, I'm nimitz asiyah, I found it, and I found it. It's all mine, because it's two separate cases. Now you see, let's go back for once. I think the door is open next door. If it's bothering anybody, we can always go next door for if it's. I think the door is open. Will we want to move if it's open? Paul, is it a big hassle to move? Let me ask you a question. Okay, we all sat and we agreed that in the case of mekach or memker, buying and selling, two guys give the guy the money, and we all sat there and we agreed basically, right? So my teacher would say, think in your head. Come on, the klotz kasha. The klotz kasha would mean the question that would stump everybody. What's the klotz kasha? How can you have in buying and selling where the guy doesn't know? How do you know? Okay. The guy knows who came first, right?
He's a very old man.
Oh, okay. So let's pick it up in the Gemara. Where in the case, not in the case of finding, because in the case of finding, there's no witnesses, there's no third party. So if the both of us jump, go ahead, Mom.
A very superficial question.
Sure.
And I apologize for not being here
No,
previously.
that's okay.
You may have dealt with it. In the case of the talus, so they cut it in half.
No, they sell it. They would sell the talus. They would sell the talus. They would sell it. Yeah, they split the proceeds. You know what? I had brought in. Okay. Is that the water that was on the table? That's mine, please. Thank you very much. Okay. So now let's pick up the Gemara.
Just willingly and unwillingly still?
Yes. Oh, okay. We're still going to.
You took the money because they held a gun on him?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So we're now. So we're right exactly where we stopped. It's in the case of found out it goes on but not apply. It might be a sort of no. No, supposed. Okay. So now, if you're following along in the English, it's very simple. In the English, it's the left-hand side, paragraph number 2. But how could such a situation arise in the case of bought article? Does everybody have that? Yes. That's on page 2b. If we're going to follow along in the Gemara, in the Hebrew, it says, tzricha, we need it. Mekach or memker. Okay? So do you see where it says that little star there? Yes. So now he says, v'lechazei, let us see, zuzei, the money that was paid, miman nokat. Who did he take it from? How, we sit over here and we start debating. Let's just ask the guy, the seller, who did you take the money from first? Was it Perelmuter? Was it Mark? If it was Perelmuter first, it's mine. If it was Mark, it's Mark. No, lie. No. Tzricha, we still need this case. There's still a possibility, the nakat mitarvayo. He took it from both of them. So this guy's a thief. He sold it to one guy, sold it to the other guy. But he knows. Does he know who it is? And is that what the Mishnah says? No. What happened? Mechad midaite or mechad bal karcha. He took it one willingly, and the other one he took it unwillingly. Meaning, it was at night, let's say, and they were standing on the corner, and he was selling his last of his red jackets, right? And one guy came by and he said, "Okay, I'll sell it to you." And then another guy came and put the money in his hand, and the guy didn't want. Okay, now you ask him, who was the guy? He doesn't know. He doesn't remember who was the guy he took it. Was it him? No, it was him. No, it was him. And both.
Because it was dark?
Either it was dark, he didn't see, it was busy. Sometimes you go to the shuk, Erev Sukkos in Israel. Think about this. Everybody's buying aravis. There it is, back and forth, and they take it, and back, One guy takes, the other guy puts money in his hand. Now he does, I could see it happening. I could see it happening in a chicken market on Erev Yom Kippur with the you don't know what's going on. It's quick. One thing is going, and you take the money from one guy, and another guy put money in your hand. You don't remember who it was. Was it you or you or you? And both claim it was me.
So where did the red coat wind up?
Oh, so the red coat winds up in court.
And did the guy keep it, or did one of them take it away?
I don't think it makes a difference at that point.
Together.
I don't think I don't think it makes a difference who grabs it. Probably, probably both grabbed it at the same time. But once they gave the money to the guy, so he obviously agreed to sell it to one guy and didn't agree to sell it to the other guy. But in this case, he doesn't remember who. So since he doesn't remember who, right? Therefore, he doesn't know. So therefore you question him in court, and you question him, and you quiz him, and you question him, and you quiz him, and still the guy doesn't come to any conclusion. Both of them are unwilling to settle. They both say, this is the esrig of all esrogim. This is the yalom. You remember the esrig in the Spizen? This was the diamond of the diamond esrogim, and neither guy wants to give up the diamond esrig. So therefore, so what they did is they split it in half, like those guys in the movie. And they cut the esrig to make tea, and put it in tea. Okay. So therefore, here's a case. Here's a scenario where now. What about the gentlemen themselves? So the gentlemen themselves, you could argue, maybe they know. Okay, but neither of them is willing to give it up. So we have to take for granted that both are telling the truth or both are lying. How can we ascertain that without really any witnesses being there and the seller being of no help to us? So we send him home. Thank you very much for showing up today in court. And what do? Take an oath.
Guys are fearing God.
That's we're hoping they're God-fearing people, because if they're not God-fearing people, then forget about it. They'll take an oath and they'll split the jacket. Okay, now you have to remember the next piece of the Gemara we're going to study is that we're going to be challenged a number of different ways by our conclusions and what we're thinking is true. So we have now a case, just to wrap it up. We have an article in the middle of the table. Okay, two gentlemen here are both claiming ownership of this article. I'm the judge. What do? I impose an oath upon both of them, and they split the article. So which means to say that if we have an article that's in doubt, or any money that's questionable, we don't know what to do, what is the Mishnah telling us? What do we have to do? And both claiming, split it, but how? Splitting it with that's a very important part. It's a very important part to this puzzle. You have to make them take the oath, as far as our Mishnah is concerned. And now what the Gemara is going to do is going to challenge that. From a number of different angles. Okay, let me read to you a scenario in a different tractate, because this is going to come into play. I want the Shavuos. Okay, this is from Shavuos. Sorry, it's Mem Hey Amud Aleph. Mem Hey Amud Aleph. Okay. Remember, let's reiterate. Money put into doubt. What do? You oath and you split. Remember, but the key is the oath. Okay. He says like this. I have to find it over here. It's a case of the Chenveni with the Perelmuter. He says like this. Okay. Here's the case. Listen carefully. A man sends his son, he says like this, Amr Loi, a man sends a note to the marketplace. 10 livni sasayim chitin, give to my son 2 saz, which is a measurement of whatever it is, 2 pounds of wheat. 10 lepoyali, give to my worker sela mois, money worth a sela. Okay, what happened over here? What was the case? The man needed wheat. He sent his son to the store. He gave orders to give my son 2 barrels, 2 pounds of wheat. Or in a different case, a guy works for him. He owes him a sela, whatever it is, a sela, $10, and he says, go collect it by the shopkeeper. Okay, so now we have three people involved in this case. Okay, we have the guy who's the sender, we have the storekeeper, and we have the participants who are the agents. The agents, 3. 4 people in 2 cases. The son or the worker, the son and the worker are basically playing the same part in a different scene. Okay? what happens now? Okay, we're dealing now with the underbelly of society. Hu omer nasati. Now we're in court. Why are we in court? Because the storekeeper said, I gave it to them. A kid came for 2 pounds of wheat, I gave it to him. V'hein oimrim, and the kid and the worker says, Lo natalnu, we never got it. Okay? We never got it. We never made it to the store, we don't know anything, we never took it from him.
Both their missions failed.
Both, no. As far as the storekeeper goes, he gave it. He fulfilled this. He fulfilled his duty.
The money and the wheat.
What? Yeah, he gave them the money and the wheat.
We didn't get the money.
We never, or the wheat. They never said, they claimed they didn't get anything. Okay, so now we're in court. 3 guys, obviously the storekeeper is suing the sender. He's suing the balabos, as we would call him here. Because why? He wants to collect his money. He wants his money for the workers and he wants his money for the wheat. What do you do? Okay? Hu nishba v'naitel. He swears, he takes an oath, and he takes the money. V'hei nishban v'naitlin. And they take an oath, and they get the money. Meaning, what happens over here? So he, for example, the storekeeper, takes an oath that he never got the money, and he takes it, and the guy has to pay him whatever it is for 2 pounds of wheat, or for the seller, and the worker swears he never got paid, and he has to pay him then. So who's the big loser here? The sender. The sender is the loser over here. Okay? Omer benanis.
And the storekeeper
Okay.
is the only one that swears?
No. The storekeeper and the other guy swear.
They say we didn't
That's
get it.
right. We didn't get it. Okay. So they say like this. Omer benanis. So benanis says, Keitzad, when is this possible? How could this be possible, he says. Benanis asks a good question. Keitzad, how can you say such a case? That these guys swear and collect, and he swears and he collects. Now, the collecting, I'm just trying to think of your Keitzad. Okay. So he says, Elu ve'elu, boinli de shav. How can this be a case? If both of them swear, one of them is absolutely swearing falsely, right? It can't be that both of them are telling the truth here, right? Unlike the case of the coat, right, where they might think here, absolutely one of them is lying, because you can't have one guy claiming he gave it and the other guy says I didn't receive it.
Actually, still,
Right?
You have 3 people. You have 2 people.
Forget about the son. Let go of the son. Let's just take the worker.
Okay.
Yeah, because it confuses us with the son. The worker says, I didn't collect the money. The other guy says, I gave it to him. So this guy swears and this guy swears and they each get the money. Okay? They each get the money. Now, no one really loses here. Right? No one really loses here. Because think about this for a moment. If the sender pays off the storekeeper, then the storekeeper then has to pay off. No, 1 second. The storekeeper already said he gave it to him. He said he gave it to him already. Okay, so the storekeeper swears and I have to pay him. Then he swears and I got to pay him. Right? That's okay. So I am the loser. The sender is the loser, right? Let's the case scenario again. The sender is the loser. No. Forget the son. The worker. So both swear they didn't get. He gave it, so I got to pay him off. And then he swears he never collected, so I got to pay him off. So I'm definitely the loser in this case. Yeah. And one of you is lying. I'm not saying one of you is lying, but there's a guy in the Gemara that's definitely lying. Right? There's definitely lying. Right? So okay, so Banana says, Keitzad, how could this possibly be true? Elu ve'elu boili de shav. How can they be possibly taking an oath when they're lying? Ella, but he argues, hu noitel b'lo shvua ve'hei noitel b'lo shvua. They both collect without taking an oath. The sender is a loser in both cases. They both collect the money. If he can prove that he actually did something and they're in, he loses. So Bananas will argue. Remember, Bananas was the name of a guy. It's interesting because Nanis.
Force somebody to take a bad oath.
What? You can't. You cannot force someone to take exactly. Yeah. That's what Bananas is arguing. Nanis is a midget, right? So this guy must have been Bananas. His father must have been a midget because the son of him. I'm saying his father must have been a midget. That's why he was called Bananas. Okay? Or Bananas.
Yeah,
He was Bananas. He was nuts. Okay? So let's go back to the Gemara now. Now the Gemara is going to ask this question.
Why can't he ask them to take an oath?
Because one of them is definitely lying. The courts cannot according to Bananas. Remember, there's an argument here. One part says the rabbis say they do take an oath, and we don't know, and they'll let them collect. Bananas says you can't force a guy to take a false oath. You just can't do that. So there's no right that we as a court to implement an oath in this case, knowing that one of them is lying. What do? So since one of them is definitely lying, you have to give them the money, and next time this guy will be wise.
Solve it by saying if these are God-fearing men.
But obviously they're not God-fearing men.
Somebody-
You see, that's why.
But it's a way of exposing.
But if he's not a God-fearing man, how will we know? You see, if in this case, so in the case of where we're mistaken, like, where we don't know, so okay, so you give them the benefit of the doubt. Both of them probably, possibly, could be, are telling the truth. But in this case, there's no way that both of them are telling the truth. Either you gave it or you didn't give it. If you're a storekeeper, either you collected or you didn't collect it. It's one of the other. When it's neither could, go ahead, Mark.
Thou shalt not bear false witnesses. What's one of the 10 biggies?
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Okay. And all the more so when you go to court, there's an expectation you're
That-
telling the truth.
exactly.
What does the oath add to the scenario? You would assume that everyone understands that they're bound to tell the truth.
So are you talking about the argument? You're talking about the rabbis who argue we should administer the oath?
Yeah. What does
Okay,
what
so
does
there.
it add-
What does the oath add?
Yeah.
Okay, so the rabbis will argue that the oath will add a sense of urgency. That's what they claim.
What I'm asking is, it seems redundant.
Right. They would say that, you know what, by placing the oath, let him lie. Let him lie. We don't care. If he has the temerity to come into court and then stand in front and hold the Torah, let him do it. We want to see it. Okay, if he has the guts to do it and he does it, then okay, he gets the money. But we're not going to give it to him without doing it. That's one argument. That's their argument on the one side. Let's push him to the wall. Banana says you can't push him to the wall. No, they already showed us who they are. We know already what the situation is. There's no reason in a case of where one is absolutely lying beyond a shadow of a doubt, I will not administer an oath. Too bad, but the guy, what about the sender? He'll jump up and down and he'll start screaming, it's not fair, this is illegal, I'm getting cheated. Yes, thank you. I'm getting cheated, and all of these things. You know what? Too bad. Now you'll know to be more careful. Now you'll know that to know who you could trust and who you can't trust, and you've learned a lesson. That's the way it goes.
I'm not very clear about the sender sends the man to the storekeeper.
Yeah.
Spend money.
Right.
For what?
To collect the money.
To collect money.
Yes.
Okay, so now if the court says that if they divide it.
No, they don't divide the money.
But each one of them gets money, you say.
Yeah, out of my pocket. So let's say you're a storekeeper, right?
Out of the storekeeper's money.
No, not in the storekeeper. Out of mine. I'm the
No, the sender?
I'm the balabayas. I'm the sender. Okay. Mark worked for me a day, right? I owe him a seller.
Right, and you
Okay.
send him-
I said to him, you know what? I said, go to Dr. Kern. She's an honest lady in a store, and collect from her the money. Okay, collect from her the money. You go to the store. Okay, you come back the next day, you say, I never got the money from Dr. Kern. Then I get a letter from Dr. Kern saying, pay up the 10 shekels or whatever that I laid out. I think to myself, okay, what happened over here? He claims he never got the money. You claim you gave him the money. Now I say to myself, I got 2 lawsuits against me. He's coming after me for wages, worker wages. You're coming after me for a loan. So now I say, okay, let's go to court and settle this. Yeah, okay, so the court is sitting there. So if you happen to be in a court of Bananas, if Bananas is the rabbi of this particular town, what's going to happen? Since I look at both of you and I know one of you is definitely lying and I can't ascertain which one, but I know one is lying, so too bad, Perelmuter, pay the money. You got to give the money to you and you got to give the money to you. And finished. That's the way it is. So now we go back to our Mishnah and we're going to say that our Mishnah, okay, so let's say Lema, right here,
Okay.
right there.
And we know for sure that one of them is not telling the truth. Is that not making an assumption and prejudging and, in our current legal system? we
One-
cannot-
Wait
you
second.
tell- or you're
One
not
second.
proven guilty?
2 guys walk into the room here.
Yes.
I'm telling you, there's one guy here whose name is Kenny Schlesinger. I know for a fact there's one guy here, I don't know who it is. You get up and say your name is Kenny Schlesinger, and he says his name is Kenny Schlesinger.
Right.
Now, it can be. It just cannot be. There's only one Kenny Schlesinger in this. Remember that show? Will the real Kenny Schlesinger please stand up to tell the truth? Now, 2 guys were lying, weren't they?
Yeah.
All right? 2 guys were definitely lying.
Okay.
There you go. This is what's happening here. It can't be where she gave him the money and he didn't collect it, or she didn't give him the money and he didn't collect. One has to be true. In logic, one has to be true. Both cases cannot be true.
You sent him to collect the money from the storekeeper because the storekeeper owed you money.
No. The storekeeper had cash. The
No,
storekeeper,
but why did you send?
because you had cash. He wants to get paid.
And you didn't have cash.
I didn't have cash. So I sent him to collect the cash from her, figuring, okay, you know what, I'll pay you tomorrow. I'll get cash, I'll go to...
Because I have money and he doesn't.
Okay,
The end of the day, right? Mark comes to me at the end of the day. I did the job. I need $100. I said, I don't have the $100. Go to Helen. She has a store. Her store is open till 7 o'clock. She'll lay out the money. Just say I sent you. She trusts me. Okay. You know, why does she trust me? In the meantime, he went there to her store and he said, hey, you know what? You don't give me the money, but you claim that you gave me the money, and then we'll make a little dreidel. You make a dreidel and a dreidel, and next thing you know, I'm out $200.
But then it's a conspiracy.
Right. So who says it's not a conspiracy? So one is definitely lying, or both are lying.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
one,
either.
yeah,
At
it's,
least one is lying.
yeah, at least one. Now, the one that's lying is obviously collecting $200, right? Because if Mark is lying, he's going to walk away with $200, your 100 and my 100. If you're lying, you walk away with only $100 profit, right? Okay. Okay. So now let's go to our Mishnah. So it says, Lema, let us say, Masnis in our Mishnah. Remember our case. Our case is, what do you do? In our Mishnah, how do you split the money with an oath? Masnis in our Mishnah, Deloike ben Nanis. This agrees, could not go according to the opinion of Ben Nanis. Why? The E Ben Nanis, because if Ben Nanis would be the author of our Mishnah, Ha'omer, he said, Ketzad, how could this be possible that they should take oath? Elu ve'elu boyin lidei shvu hashav. One of them is definitely going to take a false oath. And if a person takes a false oath, they do not have to, a court could not administer an oath on their behalf, therefore they have to take it without swearing. Right? What about our Mishnah? Okay, so here goes our Mishnah. And we talk about you have to give an oath. So obviously, Ben Nanis would disagree with our Mishnah, right? What would he say in our Mishnah? What would Ben Nanis argue if he was having this case? What would he say? Two guys come with a coat, both will say that it all belongs to them. What would he say? What would Ben Nanis say?
The coat, this isn't the coat now.
No.
It's
Not the
10
case.
10
Not the case of the 10 shekels.
Oh, the coat.
Ben Nanis is sitting in his base medrash, in his courthouse, and two guys come in with a coat, and both guys say it's my coat. What would Ben Nanis decide?
Everybody claims at least half is mine.
And
And you split it.
with
No.
an oath?
No.
Oh, no oath. Okay.
Just
So
mathematics,
just you split it with no oath. Why? Because Ben Nanis would say that you can't administer an oath in this case because one of them is lying, right? Because one of them knew that he grabbed it first and the other one showed up afterwards, right? So our Mishnah would argue against Ben Nanis, right? Is that we all agree with that? That
No, but now it says you shouldn't swear an oath, right?
exactly.
So here we're not swearing an oath, so that would be an agreement with Ben Nanis.
Right? No. Our Mishnah would go against Ben Nanis. Because our Mishnah, in the case of where two guys are swearing, and one of them is definitely lying, would go against Ben Nanis' point of view. Right? He would go against Ben Nanis. Ben Nanis would not agree with our Mishnah. He would scream bloody murder, give them the coat without an oath. So therefore, our Mishnah has to agree with the rabbis in the case of Ben Nanis. So the Gemara says, no, not so fast. Here one could say, the lekashvu hashav, that there would be no guarantee of a false oath. Why? Amar, we could always argue the tarvayu bahade hadodi agbayu, that both of them grabbed it at the same precise moment. Could there be such a scenario? Possibly, right? Is this likely? Probably not, right? The chances of both of them grabbing it at exactly the same moment, not. But since there is a possibility, okay, that both of them, at least in their minds, perceived that they grabbed it at first, not at the same time, but both of them perceived they grabbed it first. So there is a possibility that neither of them are lying.
Maybe it was around a corner And they each saw it separately from.
You never know, right? Exactly.
It wasn't until
And-
they pulled on it, they
Because
realized.
that someone else is grabbing it. Someone else is grabbing it. So there is a possibility in our Mishnah that both are telling the truth, yes or no? Yes. Right? There is a possibility that both are telling truth. If both are telling the truth, even Bananas would say, make him oath, make him swear. Because he would only argue only in the a case where absolutely there's no possibility of truth. You see, only when there's absolutely no possibility, when people cannot logically make sense, because one of them says, I took it, the other one says, I gave it, our guy says, I didn't get it, and the other one says, I gave it to you. Absolutely false. Okay, one of them is definitely 100% lying. And you're looking at,
Thinks he's not lying.
but how could that possibly be?
No, I mean, not, got nothing to do with reality.
Oh, what do you mean if they're not known? In court, the reality is perception. And since perception is that they're definitely lying, right? The court perceives that one of them has to be lying. I mean, if Helen says, I gave him the $100, and Mark says, I did not take it, I did not get it, they're both lying.
What if she thinks she gave it?
But how would she think that unless Mark knew where?
Not both lying.
One is lying. No, one is lying. Yeah, one is definitely lying. One is definitely lying. Unless it's a case where she says, I dropped it into the backpack. And Mark says, well, I don't know. Okay, that's a different case. Then let's find the backpack. Then it's out of my hands. Then I say, you go find your backpack and have a good day. No, one day she says, I gave it to him. And he says, I did not get it. Now, come on. There, one of you is lying and we'll wait here. Didn't your teacher ever do that to you? Who threw the spitball? And we'll wait here in class till we find out who fired that spitball. Right? That was like the teacher. You know the teacher. She said, okay, you know what, class? It's Friday afternoon. You know what? I'm saying it's Thursday afternoon. It's late. You know what? I'll ask a question. And if anybody knows the answer to this question, they don't have to come to school tomorrow. Okay. So she asks a question, what's the square root of 2? Yeah, come on, this is a fourth grade class. What's the square root of 2? Who knows? Okay, no one knows the answer. Okay, so she says like this. One more question. What is Einstein's theory of relativity? Fourth grade class. How are you going to ask a kid? There's one smart kid in the back, his name is Johnny. He rolls up a little spitball and he hits the teacher in the head. She says, who threw that spitball? Me, Johnny, see you Monday. All right? So there's a, I don't even know why I said it, but the teacher made you sit in class. The teacher made you sit in class until you gave it up. Here the court should make you sit in class until you give it up, but they don't. Banana says split.
What if she still thinks that she gave it to him?
And
She
did she?
Her perception is
What?
Her perception is wrong, but she's saying it with conviction. She really believes that she gave it.
No, can be.
But you can't say that she's
Can be.
lying.
So
She's
then
lying.
he's lying.
Then he's lying.
He took the money and went.
Then he took it. He took it. It's either one of the two. Either she gave it to him or she didn't give it to him. Either he took it or he didn't take it.
You're talking about, you used the word possible before in the other scenario.
Yeah. There is a possibility
There
that...
is the possibility that they both grabbed it simultaneously.
Exactly.
How about in this situation?
But how?
There's still the possibility that both of them believe what they're saying.
No, but there's no possibility the court can't believe that. They might believe it, but the court can't believe that. Either she gave it to him and he took it, or she didn't give it to him and he didn't take it. It can't be that both of these arguments are true. It can't. It's impossible. Now, she might believe in her delusional mind that, she gave it to him, but we as a court, we're not dealing with, people that are delusional. Either you gave it to him.
But in that case, you can take an oath in good faith that she believed what she said.
But does she still be lying? Right? Even if she's delusional and she says, you know what, I believe.
My argument, or my question is, how are you defining lying?
Not telling the truth.
But it's an intentional. If you lie,
Oh, but-
then it's intentional.
No, it
Right.
doesn't matter if it's intentional. The fact that he didn't get it from me, that means either that I didn't give it to him or I gave it to him and he
No, I'm
didn't
saying
take
if
it.
both of them, for whatever reason, they're both cockeyed, and
Yeah.
they both think that what they're saying is true.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Because one of them is still lying. One of them is still, even if you believe it, one of them is still lying. One of them has to be lying. Because it can't be, the case cannot, you cannot have a case where either she gave it to him or she didn't give it to him. There's no gray area over here. Now the fact is
But
that
I
she,
would argue then that the case of the grabbing the coat
okay,
simultaneously
right?
We're talking about the
may be
10
possible, but it's
shekels now.
highly improbable.
Yes, it's highly improbable. Everybody agrees.
Maybe to the 99.
Right. Everybody agrees to that. Everybody agrees it's highly improbable. But in a scramble, in a moment of, of thing, they both grab the coat, both thinking they grabbed it at the same time. It happens. Like women, in Filene's basement for a sale, there's a blouse. They both grab onto it. Each one says, I got it. The other one says, I got it. Both think that they got it first. There's a humble-tumble going on. There is a possibility. And if there's a possibility, as remote as it sounds, even bananas will agree, administer the oath. But if there's absolutely 0.0 chance that one of them is lying.
Bring in a third person.
Okay?
She takes the money and puts it in his backpack. That store there's a tumult in the store.
Okay?
He says, no, I didn't get it. She says, yeah, I gave it.
But she's lying. Because she's absolutely lying. She didn't give it to him. You see?
But she thought
No, but thinking doesn't matter here. She didn't give it to him. She's lying. If she says that she swears that she gave it to him. She comes to court and she says, I gave it to Mark. And I question, are you sure you gave it to Mark? Then she would have to say, if it's your case, no, I saw a backpack. It looked like Mark's backpack and I put it in that backpack. Then that changes the whole scenario. Aha! You gave it to somebody, but maybe you didn't give it to Mark. So now you're, okay, so forget
I think
you.
what Bob's asking is the difference between being wrong and a lie. She may be wrong that she had this delusion, but
Right.
but because there wasn't intent.
No, but, okay, so think about this now. Let's follow your line of thinking. Let's follow your line of thinking. I agree with you. I'm going to administer an oath. I want you to swear that you gave him the $100. Can you swear that?
But I don't know.
She can't. She can't swear that she gave him the $100. In your case, there's no way that she can take that oath because she didn't give it to him, right? She will have to admit that she put it in someone's backpack. It was Friday afternoon. It was Schwartz's Bakery, a humble-tumble, 50 people screaming at her. She didn't remember. She thought that she put it. Okay, now she didn't give it to him. Now it's a totally different case. Now I say to her, now, okay, that's not my fault. You gave it to somebody. Go find that somebody and you'll collect your $100. I only have to pay Mark.
But what if he's lying? And she actually did put it in his backpack.
Okay, so 1 second. So then he's lying.
How are you going to determine this?
Well, either he got it or he didn't get it, right? He can't. So now Mark got it, right? And Mark knows he got it. Mark.
And he's swearing that he didn't get it.
1 second. So how? So he's still lying because he got it. He
How
got
do you
it
know that?
because it's in his backpack. He
How
knows,
do you know?
but he knows
Are
that.
you going to go search his backpack?
No, 1 second. He knows that it's in his backpack.
So
So he's lying. So you agree that he's lying, right? Therefore, I can't administer.
the adjudication of it. What do you do?
That's where I don't. According to whom? According to bananas, they take the money without taking an oath, because one of them is definitely lying. One of them, I cannot give Mark an oath because I know that he's lying. He's lying. He got it right. It's in his backpack. Okay.
Forget bananas then.
Okay. No. To the other rabbis will say, give him an oath. The other rabbis will admit it. Will say, yeah, take an oath. Both of you swear. You swear that you gave it to him. You swear that you didn't get it. And hope that.
And then what happens?
And then I pay. So the rabbis agree with you. Bananas is the only lone voice that says, I will not administer an oath because I know that one of them is definitely lying. Because I would say to him, Mark, you say you didn't get it. You said you put it in his backpack. Did you check your backpack? Okay, he opens up his backpack. He sees the $100. Thank you, case closed. You got your money. You gave me money. I pay you. It's gone. Now, if he still says, yeah, I checked my backpack and there's no money in there, and she's lying because she never put it in the backpack. Oh, okay. So then one of you is lying. Okay, what about the case of she put it in his backpack, someone stole it from the backpack, and therefore Mark opens up his backpack, he doesn't see the money. No, there's no end to it. And this would be a case of ein ledavar sof. that there's no end to this case. She put it in his backpack. He thought he got it in his backpack. Someone stole it from the backpack. Let's find the thief. No. One of them is definitely lying in this case, and therefore bananas.
I object to the use of the word lying, because to me, if someone lies, it's a conscious act.
Well, isn't one of them doing a conscious act of lying? Think about it.
If both of them perceive.
But how? How could they perceive this?
Who
How?
knows?
No.
They're delusional.
So delusional.
Both of them are Meshuggah.
So Meshuggah
And
certainly
one of them-
can't take an oath. If you're a Meshuggah, you certainly can't take an
But
oath.
it's a very defined Meshuggah. It's very
This
narrow.
is pre-Freud. This is pre-Freud. But one of them,
But you
even
see, I go back to the situation there with grabbing the coat.
no, but there it's a possibility. Everybody agrees it's a
Well, why
possibility
isn't this a possibility?
because one of them has to be lying. One of them is not telling the truth. She either gave it to him or she didn't give it to him.
This water
Well,
is
you know,
wet or
these
it's
shoes,
not
these shoes
wet.
all look alike.
What?
Shoes
I
all
insist
look
it's
alike,
not
right?
wet.
That's what
Shoes?
Jews.
Yeah, Jews all look alike.
So she gave it to somebody that looks similar.
But she cannot swear that she gave it to you. If that's the case, and I'm sitting in a court and I say, "Are you sure you gave it to Mark? What was he wearing that day? What did he say to you? Give me exactly the case." And if she even hesitates for a second and she says to me, "Well, you know what? It kind of looked like Mark. It was Kenny." Okay, Kenny is Mark's brother, but they don't look alike. You know, I mean, let's be honest. Kenny is a little shorter. Mark is taller. You know, this and that.
Let's take it one step.
Can-
She says, "I think I gave it to him," and he says,
Oh, no.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
And he says, "And I think she didn't give it to me."
Okay, that's a different story.
Why?
That's already a different story. Because now they're not claiming that they did it. They think they did it. You think you did it? No. Then you're not collecting from me. Unless you could tell me, unless the court says, unless you tell me that you laid out that $100. If
Isn't
you
that the same thing as swearing?
no thinking? No,
No,
I'm
no,
just
no.
I mean thinking
No,
that
the
you
Lord says to her, did you give it to him? She says, I think I did.
no.
No. And she says, yes, I gave it to him.
Oh, okay, so that's so she changes her argument.
She's taking an oath.
No, she's changing her argument. She said, first I thought I gave it to him. Then she says, yeah, I'm certainly, I believe definitely I gave it to him. Okay,
What is the
okay,
difference
okay.
between a statement of certainty
Right?
and taking an oath?
Oh no, taking an oath is a much more serious thing. Because if she comes into court and says, you know what, I definitely gave it to him. Okay, let's go this. I definitely gave it to him. You sure you gave it to him? Yes, 100%. You sure it was Mark? Yes, 100%. What did he wear? What did he say? Fine, we ascertain. Okay, you know what? Everything matches. You ready to take an oath? Yes. Are you ready to take an oath? Okay. So now, take out the Torah. We take out the Torah. Hold on to the Torah. Here, hold the Torah. And in God's name, you say, repeat after me, in God's name. Now we're hoping, what the rabbis are hoping, and we're praying that this will scare her off. So it's one thing coming into court and saying, yes, I definitely gave it to him. It's a whole different thing of holding a Sefer Torah with the seriousness of taking an oath. If you're a God-fearing person. If you're not a God-fearing person, that's exactly what Banana says. So screw you. You know what? Forget it. We're not going to give you an oath because we know one of you is lying, and therefore, collect the money.
So I have a question about bananas here.
Okay.
He wants to avoid making a liar make an oath.
That's right.
Why? So you will not sin even more?
He's
Of course.
forcing someone to sin, that would be.
That's
something on his part.
right. He's forcing someone to make a sin, to take an
They're already
oath.
sinning,
Yeah.
But I don't have to add to that.
so you're not
So
adding insult.
I'm not adding
That was my
insult.
question earlier.
Right.
about The assumption you're in court, the obligation's already there to tell the truth.
Yeah, but here we have a case where there's two things. So now therefore you have two arguments. The rabbis claim, let's administer the oath in the hope that one of them will chicken out. If they don't, they go both the way. There's nothing that we can do about it.
Often it boils down to who's the most credible, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, here in
But let's
this,
say that they're both credible and then something happened. There was a comet that went by and one of them,
That's pretty subjective. I mean.
but see,
This
we're
one
only,
looks honest to me.
this one looks honest. Well, if it's a good rabbi, if it's a smart rabbi, and he'll look at them and the judges, he will be able to at least be able to ascertain from their arguments, like, did you see her? What was she wearing? What was going on at the time? What were you doing it? I mean, there's possibilities where I can nitpick through their arguments and find a loop, find a hole, and then once I find the hole, I start, working it until the Mark says, okay, you know what? I thought that I took it from her. I saw $100. I thought it was okay. I could make an argument, but if both of them say, I absolutely got it from her, and she says, I absolutely gave it to him, there's no way. And Banana says, too bad. you know what? He looks at me, the sender, and he says, lesson learned.
To go back to Helen's question,
Yeah.
what's so bad about forcing him to take an oath? The argument that I would make then would be that one of them is lying, and by taking an oath, then you're asking the person who is not lying
Yeah.
to take an oath.
So, okay, so that person who's not lying, you'll take an oath. That's fine. But what you're asking me to administer an oath to a lawyer. That's what you're doing.
You've already lied.
Yeah, so that's not my business. Now you're asking me as a court, I have to now say I'm going to administer an oath to a known lawyer. You're asking me to
But you don't know which one is the lie.
That's why. So that's what Bananas will say, pay them both. Bananas will say, pay them both. Now he doesn't care. He'd rather, according to him, he'd rather me be out the money than have to administer an oath to a known lawyer. That's what he would say. Too bad, idiot. Next time you show up there, tell him to bring you a receipt.
Maybe that's why his name is Bananas.
Bananas, no, because he's of the opinion. No, I don't want to. As a court, I don't want to have to administer and have God's name here taken in vain by a known lawyer. And you're asking me to be a partner in this? I should cause someone. I should cause someone to break one of the 10 commandments, take God's name in vain. No, rather let Perelmuter pay.
I remember being on a scholarship committee, and people would come and they'd ask for
Jerry,
help with
Jerry,
tuition
can you
or
do me a
whatever.
favor?
You have
Some
to
water,
hear-
please,
you have to-
from
you
next
have to
door.
hear-
Thank you.
you
I'm
have to
sorry.
hear their story and you ask certain
Sorry.
questions and so forth.
Right.
And sometimes people lie about these things.
Ugh.
And sometimes the answer was to, well, we're gonna give it to them, whatever it is, we're gonna give it to them because we would rather give it in error than turn down someone who really needed it. Therefore, if they asked for it, we gave it.
It's everybody.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of this.
Right, across the board. You just gave it to him because you didn't want to make a subjective decision and say, you know what, why should we accuse everybody of lying and deny someone who's telling the truth?
Yeah.
Because you take everybody's lying in this case. Give it to everybody, right? Give it to everybody so the people who are honest won't be shortchanged.
And put a sign that
Okay.
says free money.
Yeah,
No,
right.
but
Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you.
But to.
I appreciate it.
But to avoid embarrassing someone who's honest about their application, you know you gave it to somebody who didn't deserve it, and you just write it off.
Right?
It
Okay.
kind of reminds me.
Right, because here's the same, again, just to make it simple.
What bothers me about this is you're speaking in absolutes,
Right.
and you can't.
But why? Why not?
In court,
In court, why not? Either she gave it to him or not. Today, Ken Lay was convicted of 6 counts. What does that mean? What did the court say today? That he absolutely broke the law. It wasn't a gray area today. 6 straight counts, one after the other. Boom, 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 guilty, 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 guilty. What the court has ascertained today is beyond a shadow of a doubt, not only a shadow of a doubt, overwhelming evidence that this guy broke the law. Now we're talking in absolutes. And this guy will be sitting in jail, and they'll appeal it. Don't worry, but the appeal will go down in flames. There's no question about it because it's so overwhelming.
It's not absolute.
No, but the court is taking it as an absolute.
Legally.
The court has just today said that Ken Lay is a thief and he broke the law, and therefore we are going to now. Do we care if Ken Lay thought in his mind while he was sitting screwing the American public that he thought to himself, you know what? Maybe this is legal. Maybe his father taught him that this is legal. And Ken Lay is a delusional nut and he's a megalomaniac. We don't care. We don't care what Ken Lay thinks. Let him sit the next 20 years and think that he's innocent. Everybody's innocent. Who was the other guy? Jeffrey Skilling? Jeffrey Skilling came out today and said, I'm innocent. Right? He said, it's not true, even though he was found guilty of 19 of 26 counts. He thinks he's innocent. He might even be telling the truth. You know what? He fixed the books. He cooked the books. Maybe he's allowed to cook the books. Maybe he thinks corporate America, you're allowed to keep 2 sets of books. But who cares? In the legal system, the judge on September 11th is going to rule, Lay, you're going to prison for 25 years. Skilling, you're going to prison for 35 years. Have a good day. Sei gesund. See you in 25 years. We do that all the time in the legal system. Now, if we want to later on, we want to sit and we want to really discuss the psychology of Ken Lay, what made Ken Lay do this, and what the guys in Enron thought to themselves. That's a different study in psychology and, in ethics. You go to a professor in ethics and think about where did these guys go wrong? I mean, like lawyers poker in the 80s when they were playing around with Wall Street like it was their own private investment firm. That's a different story. But in the legal world, you're sitting or you're not sitting. Have a good day. And that's what happened over here. Either one of the two. Now, that Helen thinks in her delusional mind that she did it or she didn't do it, I made her leave. Finally, I was trying to get her. I mean, you know what? Because she only, if she's so delusional, she should pay twice for this class. I don't know who's showing up, right? Who's showing up? So therefore, that's that's it. So therefore, but the argument really boils down to just to, after everything is done, the rabbis will say, we don't care. We'll administer an oath. We're hoping that one of them will get scared off. If they both, one of them is lying, it's not our business. It's on their heads. Goodbye. You get the money, leave court. Bandana says, I will not be party to this. I'm not going to administer an oath where both of these people are one of them is definitely telling a lie. Give them the money and forget about it. Perelmuter, you learned a tough lesson. See you next week. When next time you do this, you'll make sure you get a receipt from Helen, and you'll make a sign on the dotted line. Thank you. Court is adjourned. Okay. Now we have another case. You think we're finished? You see why it took them 500 years to write the Talmud? It took them 3 hours to get through 3 lines. And this is guys who, we're sitting here once a week. Imagine if you did this every day for 18, 19 hours, and you had this, and you were not arguing against me, but you're arguing against other people who are brilliant, sophisticated, know the Talmud back and forth. This was life. This was life sitting around, coming to this kind of and they would pay the rabbi what he needed to live, and they would buy him a house. They would give him this. They would give him a cow. They would that's how we would live. He would and he wouldn't have to be pressured into running around raising money like in other places. Like certain people. Okay.
Want a cow?
No, thank you. I have plenty of.
Marco arranged for a cow to be delivered.
I tell you, it uses less. Okay, forget about it. Okay, now we're going to have another case. Okay?
Now we get to see.
Now we're going to get another case. So here we discussed bananas. Bananas, poor bananas. But the Mazaya Veka liked. We killed him to. Here's another case. Okay? Where is the case here? Is it Lamed Hey Yomid Aleph, I believe? Okay.
From another one?
What?
It's from another one? It's not ours.
No, it's from another book. What is it? Where's he? What case is he bringing down? Sumchas, right? Okay, here's the case. Okay, Shor shaharoidav acher shor. Acher. One ox was chasing another ox. Okay, we're going back to the oxen. Okay, v'huzuk, and he damaged it. Ze oimer shorchei hizik, v'zer merloi. One of them says, your ox was gored it, and the other guy says, no, it wasn't my ox who gored it. Ella besela loka. Your ox fell down and hurt himself by a rock, right? Okay, so 2 oxes, one chasing the other. No one saw what the damages were. One guy says, okay, you know what, your ox gored my ox. The other guy says, no, it was no goring. He fell down and he scraped himself by the...
Forensic science.
Right?
Get it.
This was before CSI.
Public
Okay.
and private domain.
Public domain. What's the ruling? Hamaitzi mechaveri olav araya. The ruling is that if the damagee has to prove that it was the damager's ox in order to collect. Right?
Even if there wasn't a pattern?
Even if there was no pattern. We're not talking about patterns. We're talking about 2 oxen just fooling around, running around, having a good time, and then all of a sudden one gets nervous, they chases the other ox. If you want to collect from me, for example, Mom, your ox was the one that was gored. My ox was the one that was chasing your ox. You come to me and say, your ox gored my ox. I say, no, it was a rock that did it. You have to prove in court that it was my ox. Since you want to take money out of my pocket, you have to prove that it was my ox. Okay? Jerry, you wanted to say something?
Oh, I was going to say, would it have to be, where the incident happened and how you're supposed to have your animal under control where it happened?
No, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're not talking about whether the guy had a right to be there, not have a right to be there. We're just talking about a case where you want to take money out of my pocket. The onus is upon you. That's it. Okay? Let's keep going. Where the case where 2 oxen, okay? Hayu shnayim right from acher echad. 2 oxen chased 1 ox. Okay, now we have 3 oxen running in the fields, and they're all like 2 males chasing a female ox. Zoymer shorche hizik. Now the ox is injured, obviously, because I told you, it's like your mother said, don't play in dangerous, now you got hurt, okay, it's your fault. So this guy says, your ox gored it, and the other guy says, your ox gored it. Okay, we definitely see goring marks here, and both claim it was the other guy's ox. What do you want from me? So what happens? Shnei and Peturin. They're both exempt from paying. Because you can't prove. Again,
I understood that. Shnei and Peturim.
right? Shnei and Peturim. They're both exempt.
Walk, yeah.
That's right. They're both exempt. Why? Same old case. Hamaitzi mechaveri olavaraya. You want to collect from me? You got to bring the burden of proof. You can't bring the burden of proof. It's too bad.
It seems like there's a pattern here that the victim that you want to be sympathetic is always at the disadvantage.
Well, it's not as a disadvantage. Here we have an overriding klal gadol. There's a general rule. Possession, I have money in my pocket. If you want to reach into my pocket to grab that money, you have to bring the proof. You have to bring the proof. And as long as you can't bring the proof, we sympathize with you, Mark. We're sorry that your ox got gored, and really it's a shame that your ox got gored, but since you cannot bring us proof that this guy did it, we can't expect this guy to pay. Now, you know what? You want us to set up a sympathy group for you. You want us to, help you with charity. That we could do. But again, legally, there's nothing we can do unless you could.
How would one bring proof about?
Witnesses. You'd have to have witnesses. You'd have to have two people that saw the ox gored. Even it doesn't have to be exactly the same way as murder, where you actually see the knife go into the guy. Because the famous case of two guys, one pursued another guy. He was holding a knife. There was a tussle in the house. The next thing you know, the guy's running out of the house with a knife dripping with blood. You look into the window, you see a dead guy. You can't convict the murderer because it was all circumstantial. You don't know. Maybe the guy now. There you had to actually see the knife going into. But here, if we had circumstantial evidence, and one ox, couldn't because you proved, where the rib cage was, where he got gored was exactly the height of the other short ox, and the other one was a tall, lanky ox. He couldn't have done it. So even if you bring that proof, then that may convince the judges to rule in your favor. But if you couldn't, Shnei Peturim, they both walk. What? You can bring a dentist if he bid it. Maybe not today. Probably you could do it, but what are you going to do today if your car gets hit, right? And you claim that I hit your car, and there's no witnesses. So I deny it. Well, what's going to happen?
That is forensic science.
No, now you could prove it. Skid mark, but if you didn't have all the science, you'd be up a creek. You'd be up a creek. You claim, okay, my car hit your soap, go prove it. If you can prove it, then I pay. Okay? What does that mean? But where both of the pursuing oxes belong to the same owner, of course, shneim chayavim. Liability will be attached to both of them. So obviously, you pay, right? So we don't care which ox gored it. It could be either ox. You're paying, obviously. Okay? That's kids.
They don't overlook anything.
What?
They don't overlook anything.
They don't look over anything. One of them was a big ox. One of them was a small ox. Hanizik oimer gadol hizik. The guy said, the one who damaged says the big ox damaged it. Why would he say the big ox? Because it's worth more. He wants to get the money's worth, right? V'mazik oimer loiki ala cotton. The damages, and always only the small ox. You only get the money's worth of the small ox. Echad tam v'echad mu'id, whether one, like Bob brought up before, one was a pattern and one didn't have a pattern of damaging. The one who had a pattern pays full. So the other guy says it was the damaging ox. That was the ox that did it. I say no, it wasn't. It was the tam that did it. All of this is the same ruling. Okay, all of this is any case where there's a doubt and we don't know. It's the onus is on the person who was damaged to bring proof. Okay.
We're way beyond where we...
Okay. No, wait. No. Because here's the same case, Tim. Think about this. Because what's going on here? We have a doubt. We have now a question laying on the table at the court. Just like that coat, just like the talus. Right? Just like the talus. So the Gemara says it's Rabbi bar Abba. So Rabbi bar Abba says, our Mishnah ruling shows that in this respect, the colleague differed from Sumchus. Our colleagues differed from Sumchus, who maintained the Omar Sumchus said, Mamin hamutal besafik cholkin, money of which the ownership cannot be decided, is equally divided between the two parties. Cholkin. Okay? So what happens here? So what would happen in this case? In the case of, let's say, one ox pursues another ox, and this guy says, you know what, it got hit by it got hit by the rock. The other guy says, you did it.
Sell the ox,
What?
split the money.
Split the money. He would say split the money. Sumchus would say split the money. What if two oxen went and one of them gored it? What would Sumchus say? The two guys got together, you pay half. Right? Because money that's, or you pay a quarter, we'd have to come up because money that's put into doubt is split. Okay? Right? Cholkin. It doesn't say you take an oath, it doesn't say anything. Right? Go ahead, Bob.
Guy owns both oxen.
Yeah.
Oxen.
Right.
And we don't know which one did the goring.
Right.
But he's responsible.
Yeah. He pays.
But how much are the damages gonna be? One's a little ox, the other's a bigger
Oh,
ox?
so therefore, he would have to pay the minimum of the damages according to the rabbis. According to the rabbis, if both oxen belonged to me, and one of them had a pattern, and one of them didn't have a pattern, so if it was a tam and a mu'id, you claimed it was definitely the mu'id, because you're interested you're interested in collecting the full damage. I run and I say, no, it was the tam. I only have to pay the tam. Why? Because unless you can prove that it was the mu'id, then I only have to pay the damage of the lesser, according to the rabbis of the Mishnah. Sumchus would say differently. Sumchus would say, okay, you know what? Pay him the tam, which is, let's say the damage was $200. Okay, so you would definitely admit that it was at least a tam, right? So here's $100. Now, what are we debating about? What are we arguing about? What?
The difference.
The difference. How much is the difference? 100. What would Sumchus say? Split it. So you would end up with 150, and I would end up with paying 150. So in this case, Sumchus would be more sympathetic, according to what he would go according to what Mark was saying, that he'd be more sympathetic to the victim. The rabbis were not sympathetic to the victim. The rabbi said, you bring a proof. You don't bring a proof, too bad. That's our business. Sumchus said, no, listen, there's damage here. It could be that you did it, could be you not did it. Why should we place the whole burden of proof? So there's questionable over here. So let's take the damages. What is the damage? $100? Pay him $50. Give him 50. Because there is a chance that your ox did the goring. Okay? Now remember what Sumchus said. Mammon hamutal besofik, money that was placed in doubt, cholkin. We split. Okay? Let's go back to the coat scenario. Two guys grab a coat. Okay? What does the Mishnah say? Well, what do? What? We split it with an oath. So our Mishnah agrees with Sumchus or no? When you say our Mishnah agrees with Sumchus or disagrees with Sumchus?
It has to be one of the oxen in there.
Now hold it, forget about the oxen. Forget the oxen. Think about this. Does our Mishnah agree with Sumchus' position or disagree? Now think about all of everything that the Mishnah says. And think of what Sumchus says. Remember, Sumchus says, Mammon hamutal besofik cholkin. Money that's placed in doubt, you split. You split, period. Our Mishnah says, money you split, that was placed in doubt, with no oath with Sumchus. I didn't say an oath with Sumchus. See, listen carefully. No oath. So in our case, our Mishnah would disagree with Sumchus, right? Because he would say, just give them the coat. He would say, take the coat, give them half the coat and throw them the hell out of this court before I take the stick to bash both of their heads in, right? That's what Sumchus would say. Because he says money that's placed in doubt, cholkin, split it. Doesn't mention anywhere about an oath, doesn't say anything about an oath, doesn't care about an oath. You know what do you give me a headache for? I'm late for work. Both of you are bothering me about this silly case of both of you. Take the coat. Is it yours? Yes. Is it yours? Yes. You want to give him the whole coat? No. Do you want to give him the whole coat? No. Give me the coat. Hey, bailiff, sell this coat at Filene's basement. Whatever the proceeds are, give half to Tim, half to Mark, and goodbye. See you later. Hope I never see you again. And that's Sumchus says cut and dry. 1, 2, 3. No oath, no this. Okay, so let's go back to the Gemara. Because our Mishnah, it will not go according to Sumchus, right? So he says like this. Let us say, our Mishnah doesn't agree with Sumchus, the Ika Sumchus, because if we agreed with Sumchus. Ha'omer, he says, money that's placed in that you split without an oath. Because what does he care about an oath? Think an oath is going to make a big difference over here? These two nutcrackers that are fighting all the way from downtown Long Beach. They're holding on to the coat to come here to the hotel. They won't let go of the coat. So two Mishagoyim, I'm going to be busy with them administering an oath. Split the coat and the Hakmanish Kenchainik. That was his middle name. Hakmanish Kenchainik Sumchus. Okay. The Elamai, so then the Mishnah says the Elamai. Who does it go according? Rabbanon. It goes according to the rabbis. Ha'amri. They said Hamoitzi mechaveri olavaraya. That if you wanted, the rabbi's opinion were always that if you wanted to take money out of someone's pocket, the burden of proof is upon you, right? It's definitely upon you. So does our Mishnah agree with the rabbis? Not really, right? Because our Mishnah also doesn't really agree with the rabbis, because our Mishnah says that basically you have to bring the burden of proof would be upon the guy. The rabbis say that the burden of proof is on the claimant, right? You claim that you have to take. So I'm not sure if our Mishnah goes according to the rabbis. Because what would they say in our Mishnah? If it was the rabbis, two guys come into court. They both claim they have it. So you have to figure out. We don't know what the rabbis would say. Elamai. How would they argue? Now what a comparison. Elahai if you want to say it goes according to the rabbis, in that case where they're arguing, both of them didn't grab onto the coat at the same time, because an ox gored an ox, of course. So one ox was whole and one ox wasn't whole. So therefore the rabbi said, therefore if let's say you claim that my ox gored your ox, too bad, you have to bring a proof. But here the Tarvayu Tavse, both of them grabbed it, split it with an oath. So the rabbis here would agree with this Mishnah. Okay, so we go back to the same old argument. In the case of where my ox was chasing Mark's ox, right? Mark then claims it was my ox that gored him. It's a burden of proof is upon him, right? Because I have the money. As long as he can't prove it that my ox gored it, then he's out the money. But in this case, since both of them can't prove it, both of them say they both claim that they grabbed it at the same time, administer an oath and split it. But what do we care? Administer the oath. Ela I amrit sumchus. But if you say that it goes according to sumchus, hashta, right? Say the same thing. Say the same thing. Just like there, since they both didn't grab it at the same time, they split it without a shvua. But here, that both of them grabbed it like kolshkein. Certainly, you would give it without an oath, right? Think about this. In the case over there where Sumcha says, "My ox gored Mark's ox," we think Mark says, "Give me the ox, give me the money." Sumcha says, "I have to pay him half without an oath." Regardless of what my ox is, a tam or muad, whatever it is, it doesn't make a difference. So in this case, where they both claim that they have the money, he would certainly say split it without an oath, right? Why would he administer an oath in this case? In the case of where one of them is definitely, we don't even know if one of them is lying or not, he says split it without an oath. Here for sure he would say would split an oath. Okay, we're going to finish up over here. So the Gemara answers, no. Afilu temas sumchus. And here's where we go back to something Bob said before. Afilu temas sumchus. Here we say even sumchus would agree that you have to administer an oath to them. Why? Ki yomer sumchus. When the sumchus say you split without administering an oath, shema v'shema. If both claim possibly, could be, probably, right? Without certainty. So I come into court and Mark says, you know what? Your ox could have gored my ox. Look, there's gore marks over here. And I say it could be, but I think both of us can't be certain, right? You can't be certain, I can't be certain. Why? Because neither of us was there, right? You didn't see it and I didn't see it. So therefore, since neither of us is certain, so neither of us can really take an oath, right? Because how can I take an oath that my ox didn't gore your ox? That would be lying. It would be lying on my part. You, on the other hand, you also couldn't take an oath because you couldn't swear with certainty, right? So in that case, when there's questions, Sumchus would say, split, right? Split without an oth. Without an oath. Avol hacha, But in our case, Bari, Vabari, both say with certainty. Both claim, yes, I grabbed it, I took the coat, it's my coat, I'm not giving up the coat, I'm telling you 100% it's my coat. And Mark says, it's 100% my coat. What would Sumcha say? In the case of two certainties, split it with an oath. So we can bifurcate the two cases. In a case where there's uncertainty, there's questions, there's a possibility that I may be right, but there's a possibility that you may be right. Some would say, listen, there's no way to administer an oath here. So chalkin b'loy shvua, right? Or it was one case of two oxen, both belong to me, chasing Bob's ox. One is a tam, one is a mu'at, but we don't know. So how could I swear? How could he swear? We can't swear. So therefore, some would say no oath. But in a case where me and Jerry are chasing a coat, and Jerry says, it's my coat, and I say, no, it's my coat, and we're both certain, even Sumcha would say, okay, if you're both certain, take an oath. Okay?
Bananas.
See, throw this guy out. He brings back bananas. What would bananas say?
No.
Why? Bananas could say there's an oath.
Oh, because both.
Both could be. You see, bananas would only say don't administer an oath where one is absolutely lying. Certainly in the case of where there's a doubt, there's no shvua. See, if both come into court and say we don't know, there's obviously no oath, right? You could only take an oath on something that you know for certain, but a possibility could be that I don't know. I don't know. So no one will administer an oath in that case. The only argument left is about the rabbis and sumchas. The rabbis say, you know what? Too bad. We feel that possession is very, very strong. We're not so easy to flip around money. Now, you want to take money out of the guy's pocket, you have to bring burden of proof. Sumcha says, no, I'm with the victim. I feel for the victim, and since there's a possibility, why should the victim get away with nothing? So therefore, now, don't mistake this to mean that any time that I go and I say, you know what, Kenny, I love that shirt. That AT&T shirt belongs to me. That Sumchas is going to automatically agree, split it. Nah, obviously.
Can you give me
Yeah.
for instance, then, of both guys swearing that it's the truth, and they say they have to have an oath because they're not both running and holding on at the same time.
That's the only case that we've had all night where both guys could believe that they're both telling the truth, is if they both find it and grab it at the same time. But in the case of where the owner sends the worker to the store, no.
Right, this is the only one where they both could.
Right. Or where my ox is chasing another ox and no one was there to see it, then there's no oath. But in a case of our Mishnah, that's why an oath was administered.
And usually in the case of no oath, it's usually a split deal. You split.
Yeah. In the case of what? Which case, Jerry? In the case of, let's say, for example, according to Sumchas, in the case of where my ox is chasing someone else's ox and no one knows, so he would say split it. He would say split. Enough thought for tonight. Enough to sleep.